and welcome to the White Witch podcast with me, Carly. Hope you are all well, witches. Today we are stepping into the quiet, ancient magic of salt, a substance as old as the sea, as sacred as the earth, and as powerful as any spell ever cast. Used across centuries for protection, purification, and ritual, salt is one of the simplest and most potent tools in the witch's practice. So take a moment to settle in, perhaps light a candle, take a breath, and let's begin. Salt has long been revered for its purifying properties, believed to dispel negative energy and ward off unwanted spirits. In witchcraft, it is considered one of the most powerful and versatile tools, capable of cleansing, protecting, blessing, binding, and amplifying energy. It carries a feminine essence and is deeply connected to the element of earth, both grounding and stabilizing in its presence. It's connected to the zodiac sign Capricorn, the planet of Earth, and deities Hecate and Persephone, alongside some others that we'll get into later. Across cultures and traditions, salt acts as a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms, embodying the energies of preservation, purification, and manifestation. It has been used in ancient offerings and rituals for centuries, holding a sacred role in cleansing spaces, marking thresholds, and anchoring intention. In ancient times, salt was essential for survival. It was used to cleanse wounds and even in early surgical practices, to preserve and flavour food, and in sacred rites such as mummification and the preparation of the dead. Within religious traditions, it played a powerful role in banishing, purification, and the creation of holy water. Salt has played a significant role in the development of human civilization. In pre-industrial times, harvesting salt was a slow and labour-intensive process, which made it a highly valuable commodity, often reserved for the wealthy. Its importance was so great that in the era of the Roman Empire, soldiers were sometimes compensated with salt or allowances tied to its value, reflecting its essential role in preserving food and sustaining life. The modern word salary is even believed to trace its roots back to the Latin word salarium argentum for salt. Among the ancient Greeks, salt was held in deep reverence, valued alongside the life-giving power of the sun. A well-known saying reflected its symbolic weight. One should never fully trust a person until a peck of salt had been shared between them. The meaning was simple yet profound. By the time such a quantity had been consumed together, the bond would have moved beyond acquaintance into true familiarity and trust. In the ancient world, salt was deeply woven into sacred ritual. Among the Greeks and Romans, offerings were often accompanied by a mixture of salt and flour, known as mola salsa, prepared by the Vestal Virgins and used to consecrate sacrificial rites. Who are the Vestal Virgins, I hear you cry, as I was wondering myself. So the Vestal Virgins were 6 highly revered priestesses in ancient Rome, tasked with tending the sacred eternal fire of Vesta, the goddess of the hearth and state. Chosen as young girls, ages 6 to 10, from noble families for a 30-year term. They maintained strict vows of chastity, while enjoying unique freedoms, including owning property and testifying without oaths. Breaking their vows meant being buried alive. The enduring superstition that spilling salt brings misfortune is often traced to the image of Judas Iscariot at the Last Supper, where an overturned salt cellar is said to appear before him, an act later immortalized in The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. This moment has come to symbolize betrayal, further reinforcing the long-held belief that spilled salt disrupts harmony and invites ill fortune. Within the Old Testament, salt becomes a powerful symbol of permanence and covenant. In Judaism, it came to represent an enduring bond between the people and the divine, a connection often referred to as a covenant of salt. This symbolism continues in tradition, where salt is still present in Sabbath practices, such as dipping bread in salt as a remembrance of temple offerings. In Christianity, salt also carries deep spiritual meaning. In the New Testament, Jesus Christ refers to his followers as the salt of the earth, highlighting their role as preservers of truth and moral integrity. One of the earliest written references to salt appears in the book of Job, dating back to around 2250 BC. From this point onward, salt is mentioned repeatedly throughout the Bible, carrying layers of symbolic and spiritual meaning. Among these, one of the most well-known accounts is the story of Lot's wife. As she fled the doomed city of Sodom, she turned back in defiance of divine warning and was transformed into a pillar of salt. This moment has come to symbolize both disobedience and the enduring, unyielding nature of salt itself. Within many strands of Christianity, salt has long been regarded as a sacred substance, symbolizing purity, permanence, and spiritual protection. It is traditionally used in the preparation of holy water, and within the rites of the Roman Catholic Church, it may also be incorporated into specially blessed or exorcised water used for deeper purification. Within the Catholic Church, salt has historically been used in rites of purification and blessing. Prior to the reforms of Second Vatican Council, it was customary in some baptismal rituals to place a small taste of blessed salt upon the lips of the child, a symbolic act of protection, wisdom, and spiritual preservation. Across these traditions, salt stands as a sacred emblem of continuity, covenant, and the enduring nature of the soul. In Aztec religion, the pronunciations, Huitzilopochtli was a goddess of fertility who presided over salt and salt water. She was believed to be the elder sister of the rain gods, including Tlaloc. According to myth, after mocking her younger brothers, she was banished to the salt beds, where she discovered the nature and creation of salt itself, becoming its divine patron. In her honor, a festival was held during Tequilhuitotli, the 7th month of the Aztec calendar. For 10 days, salt makers and devotees honored Huitzilopochtli through ritual, song, dance, and ceremonial offerings. At the heart of these rites was the Ixiptlu, a human embodiment of the goddess who served as her living representation during the festival. I promise I'm not making these pronunciations up, or that at least they might sound like I am. I do actually write down how they should be said, but sometimes I'm sure my mouth just cannot. I just haven't got the faculties for it. I haven't got the minerals. Anyway, the celebration culminated in a formal procession to the temple where the Ixiptlu and other captives were brought forward as offerings. Priests adorned in ceremonial regalia such as quetzal feathers. So, the quetzal is one of the most beautiful birds in the world, after which the unit of currency in Guatemala is named, and a creature highly revered by the Aztecs. So, anyway, they had this ceremonial get up, including these quetzal feathers that they would wear, performed the sacrificial rites according to tradition. And following this, the festival concluded with communal feasting and celebration, particularly among those whose lives and livelihoods were tied to salt. Through these rituals, Wistosiwatol was honoured not only as a goddess of fertility, but as a sacred force behind one of the most essential and powerful substances known to the Aztec world. In the creation myths of Mesopotamian mythology, salt also plays a primordial role. The goddess Tiamat embodies the chaotic saltwater ocean, the vast and formless beginning of all things. She joins with Apsu, the god of fresh water, and together they give rise to the younger gods. When conflict arises, Apsu is slain, and Tiamat, in her grief and fury, wages war against those responsible. She is ultimately defeated by Marduk, who fashions the cosmos from her divided body, forming the heavens and the earth from her remains. Across these myths, salt emerges not only as a substance of preservation, but as a primordial force, present at the very threshold of creation itself, where chaos gives way to form and the worlds are born. So, at the beginning of talking about salt, I referenced how one of salt's magical associations is manifestation. Yes, all spells and rituals are manifesting in a way, but this makes that association even stronger in my mind since discovering this, with the concept of it being present at the very threshold of creation itself. Also, the whole idea of where chaos gives way to form. So for me, like, that's made me realize even more how I wish to incorporate salt into my rituals and spell work, especially as a lot of it is around quantum leaps, manifestation, and so on. I just think that's kind of made me realize how connected I feel to working with salt in my practice. Across Europe, a wealth of folklore surrounds the spilling of salt, each tradition offering its own interpretation of misfortune and remedy. In Norse mythology, salt and primal substance appear at the very origins of creation. From a great salty ice formation, the sacred cow Audhumbla nourished and revealed Buri, the first of the gods and ancestor of Odin, over the course of 4 days as she licked him free from the frozen mass. When conflict arises, Apsu is slain, and Tiamat, in her grief and fury, wages war against those responsible. She is ultimately defeated by Marduk, who fashions the cosmos from her divided body, forming the heavens and the earth from her remains. Across these myths, salt emerges not only as a substance of preservation, but as a primordial force, present at the very threshold of creation itself, where chaos gives way to form and the worlds are born. So I kind of thought on, at the beginning of this salt part of the podcast, I mentioned salt being used for spell and ritual work around manifestation. And of course, all spell and ritual work is manifesting something. However, it's made me realize how much more I wish to work with it, as manifesting and like quantum leaps and so on is a huge part of my own practice. Knowing that this is something we can work with in regards to creation itself and also chaos giving way to form. It just highlights for me how powerful it is and how aligned I feel to work with it. In Norse mythology, salt and primal substance appear at the very origins of creation. From a great salty ice formation, the sacred cow Audumbla nourished and revealed Buri, the first of the gods and ancestor of Odin, over the course of 4 days, as she licked him free from the frozen mass. Across Europe, a wealth of folklore surrounds the spilling of salt, each tradition offering its own interpretation of misfortune and remedy. In Norwegian belief, it was said that a person would shed as many tears as were needed to dissolve the salt they had spilled. In England, each grain was thought to represent a future tear yet to fall. German superstition held that spilling salt stirred enmity, as it was believed to be the work of the devil, the disturber of peace. Salt has also been associated with protection in more intense spiritual workings. In certain traditions, it has been used to create protective boundaries during exorcisms, forming a symbolic barrier against harmful or intrusive forces. Throughout medieval Europe, salt was widely believed to guard against witches, malevolent spirits, and the evil eye. It was commonly said that witches and even animals under their influence would refuse salted food. As a result, salt became a practical and symbolic tool of defense. Historical accounts describe various protective uses. Small packets of salt carried discreetly to ward off harm, amulets of consecrated salt worn for spiritual protection, and household charms combining salt with everyday objects. A jar of salt placed alongside a blade, for example, was thought to deter negative forces, while sprinkling salt near the threshold could serve as a simple yet effective ward. Some folk practices took a more ritualistic form. In certain traditions, scattering salt by the doorway and placing a broom nearby was believed to hinder a passing witch, who would be compelled to count every grain and every bristle before proceeding, thus delaying or preventing harm. Across these beliefs and customs, salt emerges as both a sacred and practical protector, an element trusted to shield, purify, and hold the boundary between the seen and unseen. Within Christianity, it is traditionally advised that spilled salt be thrown over the left shoulder. According to medieval belief, the devil or his demons were thought to linger behind the left side, while one's guardian angel stood watch over the right. By casting the salt over the left shoulder, the act becomes both protective and symbolic, warding off misfortune and driving away any negative presence that may be waiting unseen. In France, a practical countermeasure emerged. A pinch of the spilled salt would be thrown over the shoulder, aimed to strike the devil in the eye and halt further mischief. This custom travelled across cultures and evolved over time. In parts of the United States, it was expanded into a more elaborate ritual where one might toss the salt over the left shoulder, then crawl beneath the table and emerge on the opposite side, symbolically breaking the chain of bad luck. Within Hinduism, offering salt to the deities is believed to invite blessings of health and well-being. Meanwhile, in the ritual practices of Shinto, salt is used as a powerful purifier, most visibly seen when sumo wrestlers cast it into the ring before a match, cleansing the space and banishing any lingering negativity. Across time and tradition, salt stands as a universal symbol of purification, protection, and sacred power, an element both humble and profoundly revered. Salt has long been regarded as a symbol of eternity, an element believed not only to endure, but to impart that endurance to all it touched. Because of this, the giving or receiving of salt once represented a sacred, unbreakable bond. To share salt at the table was a gesture of friendship. To partake of another's salt was a vow of loyalty. In this context, to spill salt was more than a simple accident. It was seen as a rupture of that bond, a symbolic act of betrayal. As salt symbolism evolved, it came to represent not only eternity, but also longevity, prosperity, and preservation, particularly as it grew in value and use as a form of currency. This association with preservation extended naturally into death rites. Salt was used in various funerary customs to protect and sustain the soul, to guard against corruption, and in some beliefs, to prevent the dead from falling under curses or malevolent influence. In some traditions, salt was mixed with earth as a symbol of the soul's continuation, even as the body returned to the soil. In others, it was scattered across places marked by death or darkness, either to cleanse, consecrate, or seal the space. These practices were influenced in part by a very tangible observation: salt's effects on the land. Highly saline soil struggles to support life, and this property gave rise to rituals in parts of the Near and Middle East where conquered lands were salted, whether as a curse, a symbolic act of desolation, or a means of preventing rebirth. Though the precise intention varies across accounts, the underlying theme remains the same: salt as a force of transformation, capable of both preserving and denying life. Perhaps one of the most striking uses of salt in death rites can be traced to ancient Egypt. There, a mineral compound known as natron, a naturally occurring blend of salt, soda ash, and baking soda found in dry lake beds, was used in the process of mummification. This substance, regarded as sacred, preserved the body and protected it for the afterlife. For those unable to obtain natron, salt alone could serve as a substitute, further reinforcing its role as a preserver of both body and spirit. With such deep and varied uses, salt came to be seen as holding power over both life and death, and by extension, over what lies between. In many traditions, it was believed to ward off restless spirits, malevolent entities, and even the undead. Its ability to preserve, purify, and repel gave rise to its reputation as a universal protective agent. This belief transcends geography and culture. From the Middle East to East Asia, salt appears again and again as a tool of purification and protection. Coming back to Shinto practice, salt is used to cleanse spaces and banish unwanted spirits, sometimes even thrown behind oneself after a funeral to prevent the dead from following. Such parallels suggest a near universal recognition of salt's spiritual potency. Over centuries of ritual use, blessings, baptisms, consecrations, and even exorcisms, salt has been repeatedly imbued with sacred intention. In some traditions, it is formally blessed. In others, such as within Judaism, it is considered inherently pure and requires no ritual preparation. This distinction also underlies the concept of kosher salt, not as a salt that is itself consecrated, but as one used in the process of making food ritually fit according to religious law. In Ozark Magic and Folklore, Vance Randolph records a rich tapestry of mountain beliefs surrounding the use of salt, revealing its deep roots in superstition and folk magic. To spill salt at the dinner table, for example, was said to foretell a violent quarrel within the household. Lending salt was also widely discouraged, as it was believed to invite discord between the giver and the receiver. To soften this ill fate, one might return the favour, not with salt, but with sugar or molasses instead. Similar beliefs appear in parts of northern England and Scotland, where lending salt was avoided out of fear it could be used as a magical link for cursing. Salt was also thought to reveal the presence of witches. In the Ozarks, it was said that witches consumed very little salt. We've already looked at this in other cultures. So anyone who complained that food was overly salty might be regarded with suspicion. Another tale tells that bewitched cattle would refuse salt altogether. In the American Southwest, the Pueblo peoples honor a sacred figure often referred to as the Salt Mother, a spirit or deity connected to the life-giving and protective qualities of salt. Among various Native American traditions, salt was not always freely consumed. In some communities, there were specific customs and restrictions surrounding who could partake of it, reflecting its perceived power and importance. In Hopi legend, the warrior twins are said to have punished humankind by placing valuable salt deposits far from settled lands. As a result, those who sought it were required to journey great distances, facing hardship and demonstrating courage to obtain this precious and sacred resource. Through all of these threads, myth, ritual, survival, and symbolism, salt endures as one of the most quietly powerful substances known to both the physical and spiritual worlds, an element of preservation and transformation, of boundary and bridge. It remains a sacred ally in both life and beyond. In the modern world, salt remains just as important, though its role has evolved. Within contemporary witchcraft, it is valued for its versatility and effectiveness as a tool of cleansing and protection. Known for its ability to purify and repel bacteria, salt is often present within a practitioner's ritual space. Whether you are casting a circle, preparing a ritual bath, or dressing a candle, salt serves as a steadfast ally. It grounds excess energy, clears spiritual residue, and forms protective boundaries. It may be sprinkled, dissolved, added to spell jars, or placed upon the altar to define sacred space and strengthen your workings. Each type of salt holds its own energetic signature, shaped by its origin, mineral composition, and elemental ties. Some carry a gentle, nurturing energy, while others are more potent and fiery. By choosing intentionally, you can align your tools with your purpose, whether for soft emotional healing or powerful banishing work. There is a salt for every spell, every intention, and every path. You could use witches' salts in spell bags, bath rituals, floor washes, candle rituals, spell casting, casting circles, and charging divination tools. Placed upon the altar, salt works to clear and neutralize energy, removing not only negativity, but all energetic residue, restoring a state of purity. It cleanses the immediate environment, grounds the practitioner before magical work, and can be used to cleanse and recharge crystals where appropriate. When dissolved in water, it may also be transformed into a form of holy or blessed water for ritual use. Simple practices such as placing your hands in a bowl of salt can offer a quick and effective way to ground and center yourself throughout the day. Salt can also be incorporated into many magical workings, particularly those focused on protection, purification, and blessing. However, it is worth noting that salt should be used with care in outdoor practices, as it can be harmful to the natural environment. Avoid pouring salt directly onto soil or garden spaces, as it can disrupt and damage plant life. If you share your home with animals, ensure that loose salt and salt infused water are kept safely out of reach, and avoid using them in ways that could be accidentally ingested. When working outdoors or within nature based rituals, consider using salt symbolically rather than physically dispersing it. Alternatively, you could opt for biodegradable, earth friendly substitutes that honour both your practice and the living landscape around you. When working in nature, and this can be casting circles and so on, you could consider alternatives such as crushed eggshells or cascarilla, rosemary, basil, cinnamon, brick dust, clay powder, ashes from a fire, even seeds, each carrying their own unique energy while remaining more earth friendly. While salt is not always encouraged in spirit work, particularly where it may act as a barrier or repellent, it can, in certain contexts, be offered with intention to specific deities. For example, salt may be given in honour of Perchta, whose followers were historically connected to salt mining, or offered as sea salt to oceanic deities such as Poseidon and Leah. As with all offerings, the key lies in understanding the nature of the spirit or deity you are working with and choosing materials that align with their essence and domain. So, these are some of the main ways you could work with salt in your craft. First off, purification. Salt is a powerful cleanser used to clear stagnant or unwanted energy. It is often worked with before rituals to reset a space or tool, creating a clean and balanced energetic foundation. Then we have protection. Salt forms natural energetic boundaries. It is commonly used to ward off negative influences, block harmful intent, and safeguard both the home and sacred ritual spaces. Then we have grounding with its deep connection to the element of earth. Salt helps to stabilize and center energy. It is especially beneficial after intense emotional work, divination, or spellcasting, bringing the practitioner back into balance. And then we have manifestation in workings focused on abundance, stability, or long term intentions. Salt acts as an anchor, helping to root energy into the physical realm and support the materialization of your desires. Salt is a quiet yet powerful ally in witchcraft. It asks for no elaborate ritual or rare tools. Its strength lies in consistency, clear intention, and a deep respect for its grounding nature. Whether you are cleansing a space, protecting your energy, or anchoring a spell, salt offers steady and reliable support. As always, it is your intention that breathes life into the work and shapes the outcome. It's generally advised not to reuse salt once it has been used for cleansing or protection. After absorbing unwanted energy, it is best released with care, such as dissolving it in water and pouring it down the sink, or disposing of it responsibly. Salt also offers a gentle and effective alternative to smoke cleansing. Salt bowls, salt water sprays, and ritual baths can purify and refresh a space or yourself without the need for smoke, making them especially suited to shared environments or more sensitive households. So let's look at different types of salt and how and why you might wish to work with them. Starting off with table salt. Powerful all rounder and can be used in protection spells, cleansing rituals, and circle casting. This is sodium chloride in its most refined form. Trace minerals are generally removed and the salt is finely ground. Sometimes iodine is added back in as well as small amounts of anti-caking agents so the salt moves more freely. Then we have black salt, also called witch's salt, a powerful protective tool that absorbs and blocks negative energy. You could use it in banishing, binding, hexes, warding, cursing spells, hex removal, against unwanted interference, backlash, but also cleansing. To make black salt, you can mix various ingredients along with sea salt, such as ashes, charcoal, black pepper, eggshells or cascarilla, iron shavings. There are so many different recipes for this. Black salt is, in essence, a way to amplify the energy of regular sea salt. This preparation is not intended for consumption as it is created by blending your chosen salt with ashes. These ashes are typically gathered from a fire pit or the remnants of burned herbs and ritual bundles. Some practitioners also incorporate fine scrapings of cast iron from their cauldron, further deepening its grounding and protective qualities. So, one recipe I came across is 2 parts sea salt, 1 part scrapings from a cast iron skillet or pot, 1 part fine ash, 1 part finely ground black pepper, 1 part charcoal. Another recipe was, of course, sea salt, eggshells or cascarilla, and charcoal. Well, actually, with this one, it said you can use salt of any kind. You could keep black salt near your bed or under your pillow to ward off nightmares, unwanted watchers, or spirits. You could throw it in the corners of your home for protection. You could add it to protection spells that call for salt. Put it under the doormat to ward off negative energies. Sprinkle in doorways and driveways for protection. Walk along the boundaries of your property counterclockwise while sprinkling black salt to banish harmful negativity. Again, we've already spoken about the damage that salt can cause to ground. So if you're going to do this, I'd say do it very sparingly. Place around your workplace to keep away gossip, rude co-workers, bullies, and bad bosses' attention. Work with black salt to mitigate the negative effects of Mercury retrograde. Keep a bag in your car, sprinkle in your shoes, or place in a sachet for on-the-go protection and to deflect negative energy away from you. Black salt in a spell bag kept on your person can also protect you from negative energy or deflect gossip. Add some to floor wash to cleanse your home and rid negativity, especially within your hallway or sacred space. Use in your bath water when depressed, angry, or negative. Use some to cast a circle before spell work to add extra protection. Throw into a fire along with your worries written on paper to be rid of them. You could use black salt in spirit or ancestral work and also Samhain rituals. Sprinkle liberally on items to ward off bad memories or negative attachments they may hold. You could use black salt to draw protective sigils on paper or any surface you wish to protect, such as your grimoire or book of shadows. Cast a line with black salt across doors or windows to keep out evil spirits, avoid unwanted company, and reflect slander or jealousy back to source. If there is a particular individual you wish to keep out, sprinkle some salt on your doorway while speaking their name aloud. Focus your intent on barring them from your home as well as your life. Sea salt. Used to purify spaces, tools, and crystals, and as an offering to sea deities and spirits. Great for cleansing, helps balance emotions. Sodium chloride, this is made by evaporating seawater. It can contain trace minerals such as potassium, iron, and zinc. The lighter the sea salt, the lower the concentration of trace minerals will be. As it is from the sea, it is ruled by the element of water, which of course connects to emotions. Sea salt is ideal for spells relating to releasing and cleansing negative feelings. Celtic sea salt. Used mainly for protection, it can also attract financial abundance. This is a wet salt originating from the coasts of France. It has a grey colour due to the large amounts of trace minerals found within it. It has a lower sodium content than table salt and is best used for kitchen witchery as the extra minerals nourish the body and add power to the magical intent. Himalayan pink salt, used to remove blocks to love, friendship, and affection, and also in curse removal. It protects relationships, it removes negative blockages and curses. It has traces of calcium, iron, magnesium, and potassium, and a slightly lower amount of sodium than in table salt. The higher iron content makes the salt pink, and because of the iron, Himalayan salt aligns the earth with the universe. This salt is ideal for protection during astral travel and when spiritually traveling between worlds. Often referred to as the purest salt on Earth, this crystal has been forming deep within the planet for over 250 million years. Revered not only for its age, but its energetic qualities. It is said to gently awaken the pineal gland, often associated with the third eye, enhancing intuition and inner vision. Energetically, this salt carries a frequency of self-love and soft emotional healing. Its essence feels similar to that of rose quartz, gentle, nurturing, and deeply soothing. So again, as mentioned, its delicate pink hue comes from trace minerals, particularly iron, which lends it a subtle protective quality, making it a beautiful ally for both heart-centered work and energetic warding. In the kitchen, this salt is noticeably more potent than standard sea salt, so it's best used with a lighter hand. A small amount goes a long way, and overuse can easily overwhelm a dish. Kosher salt. The primary distinction between regular salt and kosher salt lies in its traditional use. Kosher salt is specifically used in the koshering process to draw blood from meat in accordance with Judaism dietary laws. With its coarse, flaky texture, it is particularly effective at absorbing and drawing out impurities. Within magical practice, this quality is mirrored energetically, making kosher salt a powerful tool for quickly pulling away negativity and unwanted energy, much like it extracts moisture and blood in its traditional use. Dead sea salt, typically used in banishing, purification, and protection spells as healing and soothing magic. I've got such a funny story about the Dead Sea because when I was in secondary school, I studied religious studies, absolutely loved it. It was like my favourite topic. Hence, I guess I'm doing this. And I remember we were invited to go to Israel for a school trip. That would never happen now, obviously, but this is way back in the 90s. And we had this meeting at school where all the parents had to come in and the teachers were talking to the parents about what the trip would involve. And one part of the trip was going to the Dead Sea. And I'll never forget, one of the parents put her hand up and asked, will the pupils be able to swim with the dolphins in the Dead Sea? And I remember looking at the teacher and just the look on her face like, what are you talking about, love? Obviously, like there's so much salt in the Dead Sea, so nothing exists. And it's really weird because you go in it and you just float, like that's it. But yeah, that's always stuck with me, that story. The fact that she just was imagining these dolphins just floating about. Anyway, I digress. Hawaiian black salt. So this is a striking culinary salt traditionally produced on the island of Molokai, formed through the natural evaporation of seawater. Its deep black colour comes from the addition of activated charcoal, giving it both a bold appearance and powerful energetic associations. In magical practice, this salt is often used to invoke the raw force and elemental power of the Hawaiian Islands, particularly the energy of fire, earth, and the volcanic landscape. It is considered a potent and intensified form of salt, making it especially suited for protection, banishing, and deep energetic cleansing. Also hailing from here is Alea salt, which has a distinctive red colour, traditionally used in Hawaiian cuisine and spiritual practices. Its rich colour comes from the addition of Alea clay, a volcanic clay abundant in iron oxide, which infuses the salt with both its earthy hue and mineral content. In Hawaiian tradition, this salt has long been used for cleansing and blessing, purifying tools, canoes, and homes, and restoring energetic harmony. It carries a deeply grounding quality, connecting it to the land and the stabilizing force of the earth. When used in cooking, Alea salt is valued for its mineral richness, containing a wide spectrum of naturally occurring nutrients. However, authentic Hawaiian Alea salt can be difficult to source, as much of what is commercially available today is produced outside of Hawaii, particularly in places like California. I'm not gatekeeping on this or anything, but for me, as a little witch here in the UK, to be honest, I'm probably just going to work with salts that are more native to where I am. So I guess, like sea salt or probably like table salt or black salt that I've made myself, but we do have many other salts that we are going to get into also. So we also have fleur de sel, which translates from French as flower of salt. It forms delicately on the surface of seawater as it evaporates in shallow pools along the coast of Brittany, where it is carefully hand harvested. Renowned for its rarity and fragile crystal structure, fleur de sel is considered one of the most luxurious salts in the world. While it is now produced in various coastal regions, the Breton variety is especially prized for its quality and tradition. So if you are looking to work with this, it's said that it's worth seeking out if authenticity matters to you. In magical practice, fleur de sel carries a gentle, refined energy. It brings a softness to your workings, making it particularly suited to subtle spells, blessings, and intention setting, rooted in grace rather than force. Its coastal origins also lend it an affinity with fey energies and elemental spirits, especially those of water and air. In the kitchen, it is best used as a finishing salt, sprinkled over dishes after cooking to preserve both its delicate texture and flavour. That's giving a very bougie salt. Then we have grey salt. So grey salt forms naturally in clay-lined pools where seawater evaporates and absorbs minerals from the earth beneath it. This process gives the salt its soft grey colour, flaky texture, and a richer mineral profile, often containing higher levels of iron, manganese, and calcium than standard table salt. In the culinary world, it is prized as a finishing salt used to enhance dishes such as roasted vegetables, meats, and other savoury foods after cooking. Magically, grey salt carries a beautifully balanced and liminal energy. It sits between light and dark, embodying the in between spaces, what some might call grey magic. This makes it particularly suited to workings that navigate thresholds, duality, and transformation. It is a sort of the crossroads, ideal for rituals that exist between worlds, intentions, or states of being. Then we have Cyprus black salt, a striking Mediterranean sea salt formed as seawater evaporates in mineral-rich environments and then blended with activated charcoal, giving it its deep black hue. Despite its dramatic appearance, it is entirely edible, often used as a finishing salt. What makes it especially unique is its natural pyramidal crystal shape, an elegant structure that feels almost architectural in its form. Energetically, this shape can be seen as a conduit, drawing energy downward and anchoring it into the physical realm, much like a channel between the heavens and the earth. The addition of charcoal lends it an activated quality, setting it apart from many other salts. In magical practice, this can translate to heightened absorption, making it a powerful ally for cleansing, protection, and drawing out unwanted energy. If you wish to weave the essence of the Mediterranean into your kitchen witchcraft or ritual work, Cyprus black salt offers both beauty and potency, an alchemical blend of earth, fire, and sea. Epsom salt. This is another salt that is not intended for consumption, but rather for topical and ritual use. Its origins trace back to the 1600s in the town of Epsom, Surrey, I know it well, from which it takes its name, and its therapeutic properties have been valued for centuries. According to Cleveland Clinic, Epsom salt baths are known to help relieve muscle tension, ease mild pain, reduce inflammation, and support relaxation. When used in a ritual bath, Epsom salt becomes more than a physical remedy. It transforms into a practice of release and restoration. Immersing yourself in its mineral rich waters connects you to a long lineage of healing traditions, echoing remedies that may well have been used by practitioners of the past. Add to spiritual baths for cleansing and purification, and it can enhance intuition and meditation. And then rock salt, a particularly grounding salt used for protective barriers, energetic safety, and stability. Let's look at some salts that you might wish to make and use within your craft. Starting off with glamour salt. Mix Himalayan rock salt, rose petals, hibiscus petals, and jasmine petals. This is best used in glamour magic and love spells. So, along a similar line, you could make up some pink salt with some Himalayan rock salt, also some pink flower petals of your choice. You could link the magical associations to what you want to use it for. But with pink salt overall, you can use it for friendship, harmony, love, lust, romance, emotional and spiritual healing, devotion, protection of relationships, faith, honor, affection, compassion, sensitivity, joy, self-love, and peace. This would be ideal if you work with Aphrodite or Venus. Then we have moon salt. Apparently, sea salt is best to use for this. You could add some crushed seashells and flowers, of course, associated with the moon, perhaps with a feminine energy also. For extra strength, you could charge this salt alongside selenite or moonstone. Place the salt into a bowl, charge it under a full moon, bring it in before sunrise. Store it in a sealed jar of your choice, and you could add this to ritual baths, protection spells, or even recipes. Then we have sun salt. So for this, use sea salt, grind yellow or orange flowers related to the sun or that hold a masculine energy into this. You could use sunflower, marigold, chamomile, dandelions. Add a teaspoon of cinnamon powder. For extra strength, charge alongside citrine or sunstone. Place the salt into a bowl and charge under the midday sun and through to sunset. Then we have fire salt. Mix sea salt with chili flakes, chili powder, black pepper, and cinnamon. This can be used in banishing, protection, hexing, and chaos magic. Green salt blended with basil, nettle, dill, and fennel seeds. This salt can be used for prosperity spells, money drawing, good luck, abundance, attraction, job prosperity, growth, and fertility. Rose salt infused with dried rose petals and perhaps a touch of lavender. Rose salt is ideal for love spells, attracting romance, and fostering emotional healing. Again, kind of linked to the pink salt. Then we have purple salt made with dried lavender flowers. This salt is ideal for calming rituals that promote relaxation, enhance sleep, astral projection, psychic abilities, dream work, and intuition. Then we have orange salt. You can make some of this up with some dried orange peel, also orange petals. This could be used for creativity, joy, fulfillment, strength, encouragement, attraction, and self-expression. Then we have red salt infused with ground cinnamon and other warming spices you choose. This can be used for protection, success in endeavors, and attracting positive energies. Also, passion, love, sex drive, lust, domination, courage, aggression, vigor, and strength. So, some general intentions you could use and say when working with salt, especially around protection. With this salt, I cleanse and protect this space from all negativity. All harm and evil are banished from this place. May this salt create a protective barrier against all that does not serve me. Or I ask that wherever this salt is sprinkled, the power of evil is driven away and we are protected by the presence of all that is good. So I'm just going to leave you with some last witchy ways that you could work with salt. Sprinkle salt on your doorstep every Saturday to protect your home from negativity. I guess that must be a link to Saturn. Carry a small bag in your left pocket to attract good luck. Fill your salt shaker to the top on Fridays to draw in financial prosperity. Sprinkle salt on your money or bank card after payday to become a money magnet. Rub salt in your palms and say, "Salt and water wash illnesses away from me to attract good health." Place a bowl of salt in your home to absorb negative energy and to promote peace. And sprinkle salt around your workspace to boost productivity and ward off stress. That is all I have for you today, witches. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back shortly with our next episode. And until then, I'm sending you lots and lots of witchy love.